Vince.
Yeah, right. And we're live. Hey guys, hey everybody. Let me change
Hello,
the view
everybody.
here so you can see everybody. Yeah, there you go. Hey guys, thanks for joining us today on this beautiful Tuesday. All right. We've got Laura, Darlene, Elias, Linda, Third Eye Trader, Dances on Waves, Fairman in America. Hey guys, thanks for joining us
Awesome
today.
people are on.
Yeah, yeah, and we're so happy to have Shane with us today. So for those of y'all who have not seen Shane's channel, Raw Vegan Rising, I'd highly recommend it. Shane's been such a pioneer in the raw vegan space of just really just making it simple as far as like how do we get back to this diet, this way of being that we're born into this realm to do. You know, we've gotten so far away from what we should be consuming. We've gotten into this space where we're like, oh, well, maybe I should cook all this food. Maybe I should eat these animals and all sorts of other things. But Shane's got a fantastic way of explaining, you know, this is the simple diet. This is the simple truth of how we are to be. And he's done a fantastic job of explaining that process and helping people along the way through coaching and incremental videos and things of that nature. So, Shane, thank you for joining us today. And do you want to give a few words on yourself and introduction there?
Yeah, thank you so much, Justin. Thanks for having me on. It's really an honor to be here with you and Kasey. So glad to be here and have this discussion today. Thanks, guys. And hello to everyone who's on already. And hello to everyone who's watching this in the future. I think this video is really in service to helping people understand the simplicity of raw food. People think it's complicated. People think it's extreme. People think it's unnatural, and nothing could be further from the truth. It's really natural and really simple. My approach is to make raw food as normal as possible. Like make it like a cooked food diet. Just have it be normal, have it feel normal. So it's sustainable long term. Because what really transforms our life, what really heals us is long-term consistency. Consistency with raw food is going to transform our life. It's going to transform our gut, going to transform our health, our cellular health, our spiritual connection, our divine purpose in life. It's going to open up so many channels and pathways. So just making it simple so we can stay on course. And I always say there's no finish line. Raw food isn't about reaching a destination. It's not a race. It's not a marathon. We're not trying to get anywhere. We're here. We're living our lives. This is about using raw food as a tool. It's just a tool, and it's about consistency, and it's about saying yes. It's about saying yes to the calling every day. We're on this hero's journey in our lives. And it's really about saying, well, okay, I'm eternally flawed. I don't have the answers. I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to say yes anyway. I'm going to say yes to myself. I'm going to say yes to natural law. I'm going to say yes to natural foods. I'm going to say yes to a win-win situation for all life. And if we just can say yes day to day, we're recommitting. We don't have to know what the future holds. We don't have to have some destination, nowhere to go. It's about you saying yes every day and recommitting to the journey. So that's my message.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you for that. And then, as always, we're joined by Kasey, Mr. Vegetable Police as well. So thanks for being here, Kasey. And do you want to give
My
any
pleasure.
introductory words to us?
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be part of the Men in Black team here today. We are secret societies, the real secret societies that want you, want good for you. We're not trying to hide nothing. But yeah, I am a percentage of raw food now, a certain percent. It's fairly reasonably high. I've just been experimenting since the juice fast. It went pretty haywire. I have some questions for Shane because I know he talks about like breaking the fast is the hardest part, and it's the part we have to focus on most. And I'm looking around when I was researching the juice fast, nobody was really talking about how hard it was, or at least for me, it was. I was struggling just with fruit. Like I thought that's how to break it. I was eating mangoes and I'm getting all this discomfort, but took a little while,
Yeah.
adapted pretty good, and now my digestion's better than it's ever been. It's so regular, like things are great, and I'm just been experimenting with some fun, interesting things, and I haven't noticed much. Like tofu seems to digest okay in my body. I eat it sometimes, and I had some chickpea pasta the other night. It's a weird strange food that seems to be okay for me. So I don't know. I want to be raw. I want the magic, but sometimes I don't feel that satiation. So I would like to know a couple things. Like, I guess we should just start with breaking the fast. If you're on a juice fast, like, what is the proper way to do it? Why do people struggle with just fruits? Because it was a nightmare for me, my bloating and like just pain in the gut just from raw fruits.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point, Kasey. Breaking the fast is the hardest part. So people come to a juice fast either out of inspiration or desperation, usually. We're either battling some kind of health problem. We're looking for a juice fast to heal us. Maybe we have chronic inflammation of some sort. What led me to juice fasting the first time was chronic dandruff or seborrheic dermatitis, which is a skin inflammation issue. So people contact me every day asking, will a juice fast heal me? Will a juice fast work? My mom has cancer. Will a juice fast work? So we're coming to juice fasting to heal us, but juice fasting is a temporary intervention protocol that is best utilized for the pursuit of cleaning out the gut, cleaning out all the waste, the biofilms, the mucus, the plaques that accumulate. If we can do a juice fast one time thoroughly all the way and go the distance, we don't really need to do juice fasting consistently or multiple times, depending on how severe our degenerative conditions are. Really, one time is enough for most people. And I coach people through this. I've seen hundreds of people go through juice fasts. And really, if we can get the biofilms out and the waste that's in there out, that gives us fast bowel transit time. So the bowel transit time is the whole key. If the fruits and the raw foods can move through quickly, they're not going to sit in there and ferment and cause gas and bloating. But the downside of juice fasting is that our gut becomes weak, our microbiome becomes weak. So it's not ideal. That's why I say it's a temporary intervention, because we got to go kind of into the hole before we can come up out of the hole. And coming out of the hole is the hard part, So really breaking a fast isn't about just eating any kind of specific food. It's about rebuilding the strength of the gut, rebuilding the microbiome on raw foods, ideally. Now, if we can stay raw maybe a year after a juice fast, what is going to happen? We're going to build a gut microbiome that is absolutely built on the soluble fiber and the insoluble fiber of raw fruits and vegetables. Well, holy moly. Plus the hydrochloric acid is going to get really, really strong. So then we can digest everything. But that takes at least 3, 4, 5, 6 months to get to a place where our gut is that strong. And then a whole year, I'd say give it a year before we're really feeling good consistently, where we feel like, wow, I can actually do raw foods consistently. So most people are looking for a quick fix. And that's why most people don't go the distance or don't stick with it afterwards. They feel this gas, bloating, digestive discomfort. Oh my God, when I did my first juice fast, I went 40 days. I got out a huge amount of mucoid plaque, to be honest, like weird stuff coming out. I mean, I really went hard. I was doing really consistent lemon ginger blast style juices, really citrus juices to dissolve out that mucus and biofilm. When I came back to eating solid food, my digestion was so horrible. It was so uncomfortable. I would eat salads. This was like maybe a month or two after my fast. I'd eat salads and I would just lay in discomfort for hours and hours and hours. So instead of saying, all right, this isn't a good, I don't like this discomfort, I'm going to go figure something else out. Let me try, something that digests easy, like potatoes or starches, rice, things like that, which do digest easy. I stuck it out. I said, MFer, I'm going to stick this out. I'm going the distance. I'm going to be raw vegan. And I stayed with it 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, still discomfort, horrible. It was really nasty, but I started to build strength. And I would, instead of backing off of the foods that would create discomfort, like sprouted lentils, for instance, I would eat like a quarter cup, maybe just a couple bites of sprouted lentils, and I would get like horrible gas for like 12 hours. I'd have gas. But I would eat more and more. Instead of backing off the sprouted lentils, I'd eat a cup of sprouted lentils, then 2 cups of sprouted lentils, forcing my body to adapt. And that's what I did. So I always say we've got to work into our weakness. If it's a weak point and we're feeling weak in our digestion, if we work into the weakness, we get strong. Just like going to the gym. We walk into a gym, we look at those weights and we go, oh, I like that. That weight looks cool. We pick it up and we're like, oh, I can't even lift that. You know, it feels heavy. So we got to go all the way down the rack to the little dinky weight that looks stupid, makes you look like a fool lifting the little weight. And we got to work up slowly. So it's kind of embarrassing. It's uncomfortable. It's a blow to our ego, but it's, you know, we don't really want to just play this game of looking good. Like if we're really going to contribute to society, to ourselves, to our future, to our health, we have to get out of this looking good conversation or this staying comfortable conversation and really be willing to risk. We've got to be willing to risk it all, because through the process of risking our identity and what we think is our health, we're going to find our strength. And when I went through my transition to being 100% raw vegan, I felt like I was going to die. I felt like I was going to destroy my health. And I surrendered to it. I said, well, if all my hair falls out and all my teeth fall out and I have bags under my eyes for the rest of my life, so be it, because I want to be raw vegan. And so I had to surrender so much of my identity and my comfort zone and looking good and all of that I was holding on to. It felt like a part of me died. And so I worked into my weakness. I surrendered my identity. I let go of looking good. I really let go completely. And I went, that was my coming out of the hole. It took me really 10 to 12 months before I really started to come out, before my digestion started to feel good. And I remember I made a YouTube video as I had just started my channel. I made a YouTube video where I announced, I was sitting in my car, I think, and I said, today is the day where I know I can be raw vegan long-term. I feel the breakthrough today. The digestion was good. The energy was there. And that was when I knew 10 months. It took me 10 months before I knew I could do it. So are most people willing to go 10 months? I don't know. It's a long road to hoe, you know? So it depends on what we want. We've got to be connected to our vision. We got to know what we're after. We've got to have a plan, you know? So just so you know, I have a bowel detox guide. I think there's a link in the description where I have a video on rebuilding the gut after the juice fast. So it's a whole PDF you can download. It's free, and I've got links to 2 videos in there: how to do a juice fast, why you need to do one, and how to rebuild the gut after a juice fast. And those are, you know, really essential videos that just help people understand going in and out of the hole. So
beautiful.
Was that helpful?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, sorry, Katie, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, go ahead. I do, but
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to comment on I loved how you touched on the sort of eucatastrophe of experiencing this ego death that we kind of all have to go through in order to catapult into the next level of this experience. And so it's beautiful looking at diet and our relationship with food and consumption, and playing into that hero's journey that we do have to walk on. We do have to say, you know what, I surrender. I give up this holding on to this physical realm in that sort of capacity, and I surrender to the truth of what is and what I am to become. And what a beautiful experience then to walk it and to truly have that death in essence. So I just wanted to comment on that particular aspect.
Yeah, it's powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm curious where you got your motivation to want to be raw vegan so succinctly. Like you're just like, I have to be raw vegan. And then I feel like anybody will be willing to put up with pain if they know for sure at the end of the tunnel. I think that's where I struggle. Sometimes I start doubting this path, like, maybe this isn't the path. And then I start looking for other ideas. But like, if you know for sure, but that's like the whole thing with life. It's like, oh, ye with little faith. It's, you have to have faith, and then the riches will be yours. But like, what first motivated you?
Yeah, that is a really great question. That's a critical question. It goes back to my childhood, because I was really mortified by the state of the world. When I was a teenager coming up in the world as a young man, I went vegan at 17 for the animals, not for health, for the animals, because I saw the death and the struggle on planet Earth and the just the abuse happening amongst humans and animals and where humanity was at. I said, no, this ain't no good. I gotta play a part in the healing of this. So I went vegan at 17 and have been working to master a plant-based diet ever since. So I have gone in and out. At about 12 years vegan, 9/11 happened. I was living in Los Angeles by myself. I lost my job. I was laid off from my job because of 9/11. I was on unemployment. I had very little money coming in. I was in survival mode. I was thrust into this survival mode, and I abandoned veganism because my bandwidth was full and I had this survival fear. So I went back into eating meat and being like, I can't handle this. I can't deal with it. It's too much to take on the healing of the world. I'd already been vegan for 12 years. And so it was painful to abandon. But as the time went on, it became more painful to not be in alignment with my truth. I remember sitting at dinner with friends eating chicken saying, you know what, guys, I'm a vegan. I'm eating this chicken right now, but just so you guys know, I'm a vegan who's going against my own values when I eat this. I would have conversations like that. So at one point I was pursuing personal self-worth growth. I was doing this development workshop with a very talented therapist, and I've been working with her for quite a long time. I got to this point where I was at a self-worth layer that I had never been at in my life. I knew I had to claim my self-worth, truly self-worth at a deep level. If I was going to heal myself, if I was going to be the man that I was destined to be in the world, if I was going to address healing the divine masculine on this planet, I've always been interested in that topic. Like, what is the problem that we are experiencing? Why are men and women so at odds with each other? What is the role of the divine masculine on planet Earth? Why are men so abusive to animals? Why are men so abusive in general? War, look at the poverty and the desperation on this planet. I mean, Henry David Thoreau said most men live lives of quiet desperation. Obviously, we are living in desperation. How do we heal this? Well, for me to address that, I had to get in ultimate integrity with myself, which was instantly, I was like, okay, I'm going back to vegan. But now I actually have to find a way to be sustainably vegan for the rest of my life. I don't want to eat animal products ever again the rest of my life. So what do I need to do? I need to eat whole foods only in a way that is truly sustainable at a high level of nutrition. So the message of raw food started to really, really come in. My journey to become a raw vegan was really about becoming the best version of myself and becoming the man that I knew I was destined to be, and playing a role in the healing of humanity, playing a role in the healing of the divine masculine on this planet. So, there's a statistic that men come into emotional, intelligent maturity at around age 43. Well, I was 44. And at age 44, I went raw vegan. I went back to completely plant-based. I'm never going to eat animal products again. That is a personal declaration of mine. So I got to figure this out. I got to be a really healthy vegan long-term. And so it's steeped in what I felt as a child. It's steeped in my mission on this planet. I'm just, I feel like I'm some sort of, what do you want to call it? Like, I don't know, a star seed or light worker. We hear these terms thrown around. I don't feel like I just came here to hang out. I came here to help heal this. We are in a mess on this planet, and we're working toward personal sovereignty, personal responsibility, growth, ascension, awakening, more light on the planet. And so eating more light in the raw foods just makes sense. Let's flood our bodies with the raw living foods and the enzymes and the biophotons, and let's just keep the vibration high, and then maybe I'll have some clarity as to how I can apply myself. And so that's what happened. I started coaching people on how to be plant-based, how to eat more raw food, how to heal, how to juice fast, and take this road of awakening and personal responsibility in our healing. And so that's what's led me to where I am now. And it's really like I stepped into my legacy work. And so being raw vegan is, again, it's the tool. It's not the end result. I'm just using it as a tool to be a badass in my life, to help people, to be at the highest level of responsibility in my life. That's what I want to do. I just need to do raw food to maintain. And it seems weird now for me because I really think of raw food as almost like a normalized baseline. I'm not looking at it as a goal. It's like I have to just be raw to operate at the level I want to operate in the world. So I'm looking at it, how can it be sustainable? I focus on macros, balanced macros, proteins, carbs, and fats. I don't do only fruit. I don't do only fats. I do a balance of everything so it can just be easy and sustainable. So it's about healing. It's about healing myself because the world is inside of me. I'm not going to heal the world if being in the world, I'm going to heal the world through myself. So it's like that love of raw food, the daily choice, the hero's journey of saying yes to the journey. I'm flawed. I'm scared. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what the end result is. I can't know what the end of the journey is. All I can say is I'm committing to the journey today, and it's hard, and I'm scared, and I've got to face my fears. And I'm a man in the world trying to like heal, myself and the divine masculine. I don't know how to do that. I don't even know what that is, but I'm going to say yes. So that drives me. That's my big motivator. And I love that question, Kasey. I love that question so much because it really touches in on like, who are we? Why are we here? What are we committed to creating? Personal leadership is really about asking ourselves, what are we committed to creating? And being so acutely enrolled in our own vision that everyone else around us is enrolled in who we're being. We don't have to enroll people in our vision. We have to be enrolled in our own vision. And then people are enrolled in who we are. And that's how we make a difference. I think that's how we spread the light, is being just a powerful being. It's our being and our presence that emanates that for others to see. And they can opt in or out. It's like, I don't want to convince anybody of anything. My goal is not to convince people, is to just be who I am, be an example, and to heal myself. So it drives me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I love how you touch on the foundational importance of diet. And it's not necessarily a goal to, if we can't necessarily pursue this as the end all be all, as I'm just pursuing this diet for my health or to heal some disease or something like that. It has to be this higher purpose of, I want to start here because I have to build my foundation so that I can pursue those higher realms. And, we've touched on in previous shows how in the Bible, it discusses, Jesus talks to John the Baptist as saying he's the greatest of those in this time. And that's an allegory to say that the 5 lower senses, the physical realm, is the greatest and it has to be pursued first. We have to cleanse the physical body before we can pursue the next realms, the higher realms. And so it has to be foundational. We have to start there in order to even get away from this rooted and being stuck into this physical thoughts and physical reality so that we can go into those higher levels. So I love having that as your higher goal, because if you can pursue that as your purpose and your reason behind it, it just gives a lot more emphasis to it. It has to be foundational. It has to be that first step. So yeah, thanks for touching on that.
I love the, have you guys read the Essene Gospel of Peace? That book came into my life at around age 30. Somebody literally walked up to me on the street one day and threw a copy into my hand. I'd never met the person, just a stranger on the street came up and threw this to me and said, here, you need to read this. And it was the Essene Gospel of Peace. And I was like, okay, that's probably a sign. I should probably read it. And that was the first introduction to raw food I ever had. I was 30 years old. It was 2001, I think, or 2002. And so I read that and I remember, and I read it over and over. I got really like, whoa, it like hooked me. And I was like, this is insane. Who eats raw food? Like monks on mountaintops? It's like, I couldn't even wrap my mind around it. And one thing stood out is that when eating the cooked food is like inviting the earthly devils, the devils into the body, the bowels, the Beelzebub and the serpent in the bowels, and then eating raw food is like inviting the earthly angels into the body. And so it's like this internal battle of good versus evil. And yes, I want to invite angels into my body. That sounds good to me, So like not getting hooked into the temptations of the earthly like flesh, and I've done my time. I've eaten lots of junk food. I've eaten animal products. I've done drugs. I've done all that. it's not really my purpose on this planet. So for me personally, I'm like, okay, let's figure out how to incrementally move away from all that, the devils in the bowels and in the body, and start to invite in the earthly angels. I'm really compelled by that. And I like feeling that light shine down on me, and that's how it makes me feel. It makes me feel like there's this like angelic, godly light shining on me. And I like that feeling,
Yeah, and that was the whole reason why we because we asked for this whole experience. We asked for these challenges to be thrust upon us of these physical temptations so that we could overcome these challenges and rise above. And so each one that we could recognize as a temptation, as something to keep us rooted and say, you know what, I've had that experience. I've done it plenty of times. We've probably been around this loop many times. And it's time to move on. It's time to level up. It's time to play the next level up this game. But you can only do that if you fully consciously intend on going the distance and doing that full measure. So yeah, it's
yeah. And I think Kasey was saying about like having tofu and some chickpea pasta and stuff. I don't think 100% raw and perfectionism is the goal at all. I think for me, for instance, I'll have a sweet potato just to make sure that I'm in control, just to make sure that my intention is what I'm really after, that my intention is pure and good and strong, because my mindset is my greatest asset. Not perfectionism, not extremism, not dogmatic behavior. That's not going to get me anywhere. So being dogmatic about it is not going to work. It's not the goal, and nobody should approach it like that. And that's why I shy away from, the dogmatic approach of certain sects of raw veganism. It doesn't really speak into the balance or the control of the mindset. So when I have a sweet potato, I'm saying, yes, I'm going to eat this sweet potato with great intention that I prefer raw food, and I'm going to go back to raw food, and I'll have a salad tomorrow night for dinner instead of a sweet potato because I'm in control. And the worst thing we can do is come into a raw vegan diet thinking I'm going to raise my consciousness with raw food, and then feeling shame and guilt that we don't do it right, because shame is the lowest vibrating human emotion. David Hawkins' scale of map of consciousness. I don't know if you guys know that. It's really brilliant. Look it up, the map of consciousness. Shame is the lowest vibrating human emotion that there is. So if we attempt to break free from these paradigms and end up being in more shame, that is the opposite. So then we're playing into the dark forces. We're playing into the magnetism of shame, grief, low vibrating energy. So really it's about intention. Nobody ever climbed a mountain without intention. You don't go up a mountain automatically. Gravity pulls you down automatically. So we have to have intention to go up, put our intention into what we're doing to raise up out of this, default pattern, the default strategies, that we've been taught through society and our parents. We have so much family lineage trauma that we're dealing with, each one of us. Let's give ourselves a little credit. We're born into these bodies with like massive amounts of trauma that's imprinted in our cells. And so we have a lot of inertia to overcome, and we need a lot of intentionality to overcome this, scarcity and survival and fear and victimhood, like we don't have any control over this situation, and looking good and staying safe. These are all these survival drifts that we've been in for thousands of years. So if we're going to be pioneers, if we're going to bust through this paradigm and create a new version of reality, then we've got to put our intention into it. So there's no perfectionism in intention. It's just about being intentional and being really conscious about what we're doing and loving ourselves through every single step, because we can't be in shame. We have to at least be courageous. On the map of consciousness, courage is where we flip into intentionality. Everything below is a brilliant thing, David Hawkins. But courage is where we start to become intentional. So courage is what we want to have. And what's interesting is we cannot get to courage except through fear and anger. So fear turns into anger. Anger turns into courage. So really, anger is actually a very powerful human emotion. And when we channel it correctly, we can get out of complacency and become intentional. And Kasey asked me, why are you so committed to being raw vegan? Well, I've had a lot of anger. I've had a lot of anger at the world for being so effed up. I hate the way the world is. So instead of directing that anger toward myself, and instead of directing that anger toward others, or even toward the world and the evil systems, instead of like putting my anger there, I'm going to put my anger toward being courageous and building my own life force. And that's what I've done. And I've used my anger to get out of complacency.
Yeah, that's alchemy. And that's how we transmute these lower vibrational emotions and transmute them into the higher ascending ones. So when you talk about judgment and shame, and how these things can creep in, we begin to transmute them and say, okay, I recognize this for what it is. And I recognize this because people will often ask me, like, is it okay if I eat this? Is it okay if I eat that? It's like, well, it's okay. You can eat anything. Like it's okay for you to eat anything, but just recognize what it will do. So it just depends on where you want to go. But don't eat it and judge yourself, or don't even have that desire and judge yourself for the desire, because when you start to invite those sorts of things in and it adds on those layers, well, you're just keeping yourself down at that level. So just see the experience for what it is. And I love how you put it as conscious intent, because if we recognize that I'm going to eat this potato and I'm going to be consciously intentional about how it's going to feel and what's going to cost from it, then we can measure that experience and either choose to continue having it or choose to continue moving on from it. But it's not this unconscious just going through the motions of just eating and consuming things without even thinking about it, because that was the habit that we were in before. So yeah, I love how you touched on that. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's powerful stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting, the whole raw food community. Like, there's no one diet that everybody seems to agree on. Some people say fruit is the highest vibrational food and we should be shooting towards fruitarian, but you're more, I know, like, you've been on that level, and then you're now on like this higher fat version. I've seen in some of your videos you're saying that, Shane, that you think like a little bit more raw fats and proteins are better for you right now. Like, they're all healthy, all raw foods, like it's all here for us. And you, like, for me personally, I've been trying some hemp seeds lately and they've been digesting well until I went a little overboard with it. I had about 6 tablespoons of hemp seeds the other day and just digestion halt, completely just halted for a bit. And I was like, okay, I overdid it. I overdid that. How do you digest this fat?
Yeah, it's really true. So nobody agrees on any one raw vegan diet. It's so interesting. I think we have to find what works for our constitution, depending on where we're at with our health and where we live geographically in the world. If we're up in like Norway or something, it's not going to be easy to be fruitarian. So there is just doing our best. And specifically with fats, I found in my experience that it was like going through a second transition. I was 80-10-10 for about a year and a half because I had to heal chronic dandruff. It was horrible. It was so embarrassing. I wouldn't be able to wear a black t-shirt. So I was really focused on healing the dandruff, which I've come to learn was chronic acidosis. It was a buildup of waste. What we're not eliminating, we're accumulating. And that waste was creating inflammation in my skin. And so I had to detox all of that out through juice fasting and 80-10-10, strict 80-10-10 for a year and a half. It was not easy being 80-10-10. I didn't like it at all. And when I started to bring in more fats, it was really like a second transition to raw food. I had to relearn how to digest fats. It was very uncomfortable. And the first sensations I noticed was that it made me tired, made me sluggish, made my digestion feel slow and poor. And what I've come to realize now, and I eat lots of fats, is that it's almost just like it's just a transition. We've got to get our gut adjusted to the fats, and it adapts pretty well. So in my opinion, we want to be strong in our bodies. We are here in physical form, okay? Yes, it's good to have our head in a higher dimension. Yes, but we're also needing to have our feet on the ground because we are the interface of where transformation is going to happen. This body is a sacred vehicle. It's a sacred temple. So if we're going to change the world, if we're going to really work toward higher consciousness, if we're really going to help the animals, if we're really going to make a difference, if we're going to heal humanity, heal the divine masculine, it's going to happen with this body, not just because of our thoughts, not just because of higher frequency. Yes, that, but in the body. So my focus is making the body strong. I like to lift weights. I'm probably about 180 pounds, 15% body fat, 6'2". I'm lean, I'm strong, I'm tall, like if you stand next to me, I'm a big guy, and I'm 100% raw vegan because I want my body to be strong. I want to exemplify masculinity, strength, proper hormones. I lift weights so I got good testosterone in my body so I can think like a man, be a man, because I'm here to heal the masculine. I'm in a man's body. So fats are key to that equation for me. I have to eat fats. And it's just how I see, so for instance, I've been doing chia seeds. I've been making chia pudding, and I've been upping the chias because it's like really high in protein, high in omegas, really good. So I've been yesterday, I had 16 tablespoons of chia seeds.
Nice.
Which is a lot. And it's very satiating. So, and I'm having it with fruit and some greens, so I'm working in superfoods in my smoothies too. I have a lot of superfoods pre-workout in my pre-workout smoothies, and then focusing on the chia seeds for that protein and the good omega-3s, because as a vegan, I got to make sure I got fats, and so I'm looking for the result in my body. I want my body to be exceptionally strong, exceptionally healthy, and I can feel when I'm strong. I just hit 225 on the bench press, which is a personal record. I've been working toward that for years. Only 1% of men can bench press 225 pounds. So I have just crested into the elite class of strength for men, 1%. And it's taken me, I've been working on it consistently for, I'd say, 4 or 5 years. And so it's a big goal to go for that strength level and to hit it. I could not do that without 16 tablespoons of chia seeds. And the Aztecs, have used chia seeds, of course, for energy. That's what they said that the chias would give them, is energy. Well, that's what I experienced too. It's like that vitality comes from the right balance of fats. I think that we have to look to whole food for the keys here, because when we look at a food like chia, it's about half protein and it's like 30 grams of fat for 15 grams of protein, essentially. Well, in the quantities that I've been doing, like half protein to fat. And I think that's a good ratio. We don't need high protein. When I go for strength, our fitness, the medical narrative says we need this high protein for strength. That just burdens our kidneys. It just burdens our digestion. I don't focus on protein at all. I'm a raw vegan. I focus on the whole food balance, like chia seeds, and I focus on flax seeds and hemp seeds, and really focus on high carbohydrates for energy. And that's what I think gives us that edge. So if we can't digest fats easily, I would say go for a second transitional type of approach. Like say, okay, I'm dedicated to being strong, to being healthy, to having good digestion, to being robust. I've got to have be able to handle that volume. So let me take on the volume. That's why I'm up to 16 tablespoons of chia seeds in a day, because I've built up. The first time I had like a lot of chia pudding, I got constipated. And I'm a raw vegan for years and I still get constipated. So it's like, we got to build up to it, So I think our body gives us the clues.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because doing this 90-day juice fast, I'm definitely I've lost quite a bit of strength doing that, the high carb, going low fat. Like initially I got a boost in strength and I was like, okay, so I had built all this muscle before, and then I lost a bunch of fat doing the juice fast. And then I was at this peak condition where I have all this muscle, not much body fat. I'm doing things I could never do before and things were great. But as it progressed past day 59 of the juice fast, I could no longer do my one arm pull up. And I was like, oh, okay, there, it just disappeared. And then I haven't been able to do it since. And so I noticed that when I was 80-10-10-ish for a long time before, it wasn't until I switched to the high fat vegan diet did I start having all this energy and wanting to work out and then just going for it and staying consistent. And I was able to build strength and feel good. So it's something about, like, I agree with you. It's not the protein, because I used to track and I'm looking, it's maybe 80 grams of protein a day. Like, it's not a ton, but it was the fats that seemed to do something hormonally to build the muscle. Is that what you're thinking as well?
Yeah, well, yeah, well, hey, I want to congratulate you on how many days did you go on your juice fast?
It was 90 days.
Wow, that is a real juice fast. That's an incredible exercise, man. Well, congratulations for you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, good work. I'd say, rebuilding the gut after a 90-day juice fast is no small feat. It's a monumental task, and you're going to be coming out of the hole for quite a long time. Give yourself a long runway. If you want to be strong, if you want to get to, build your strength back up, give yourself a long runway. This takes years. Like I said, 5 years I've been working to bench 225. It takes time. And for me, when I'm talking about hormones, I think what I focus on is, for stimulating hormones the most, is taking large muscle groups in my body to failure. So I'll squat, barbell squats, put weight on my back, and squat until my legs fail. Put weight on my chest and press until my chest fails. And back muscles, big muscle groups, compound movements that stimulates hormones in the masculine physique for sure. Women too, though. Women are always afraid that if they lift weights, they're going to get bulky, but that's not what happens. It actually stimulates hormones. So stimulating hormones is not just diet, it's physical activity and exertion. I mean, use it or lose it, is, like, our ancestors were designed to carry heavy loads over long distances, and exert ourselves. I mean, when we're talking about, like bone density, we've got to lift weights for bone density. It stimulates bone density growth, stimulates our hormones. So yes, fats are key for energy and balance, and also putting our body under resistance and getting strong. So that combination, though, is really what's phenomenal. And not only that, but it gives us the mindset control, because if we start our day, for instance, with a good workout, it sets us up to win. There's no question about it. Tony Robbins talks about the hour of power. I mean, every thought leader, every coach in the history of the world talks about starting our day with exercise, because it gives us that time to focus on ourselves, to get prepared in the mind, and it's like, it's really it's a mindset boost to lift heavy weights, and you get tons of benefits in so many ways. So that is one of the secrets to my success. I love it. I got bit by the weightlifting bug accidentally about 12 years ago. I never in a million years would have thought I would have been into it. And I tried it because I gained weight. I got up to like 200 pounds. I was stressed out and working too much. And I had kids. I had a 2 and a 4-year-old. And I was like this perfect example of a stressed out, overworked young dad. And I got up to 210 pounds. Can you imagine me at 200 pounds? I was overweight. And I tried to fix it by going to the gym, and everybody said, well, exercise. So I started for the first time in my life ever. I never lifted weights once in my life. And I started to bench press, and I started to squat, and I did compound movements at the gym, and it just blew my mind. I got hooked. That was before I was ever raw. But I was starting to really come back into personal leadership and ownership of my life. I was running a very successful business at the time. I was making about $750,000 a year with this business. And I was running, and I had a new family, and I had a lot of expenses and a lot of responsibilities, and I had kids to raise and a wife to provide, a house and cars. I had 2 new cars in the driveway and credit card debt to pay, and like this whole thing. I was running this huge business. I had a big staff of like 7 people. And that's what really made me say, okay, I can't mess around. I gotta like be in alignment. I can't like let the stress ruin my life here. So that's when and it was in my path to, I quit alcohol, caffeine, tobacco. I started to get back on the vegan diet at that point, came back into alignment with raw foods, and here I am today. So it really has like been a path. It's been like a 10-year journey, you know, to get to where I am now, but it takes time.
Would you say you've noticed, like, have you experimented with days where you will consume less fats and worked out? And do you notice a substantial difference in the amount that you can do? Like, have you kind of experimented with that to see playing around with quantities?
Yeah, absolutely. For sure. Yeah. A couple years ago, I was doing like, I would do all fruit days and actually, and work out and see how my lifts were at that time. For sure, I need fats. For sure, I need fats to lift heavy weight. It's just, it goes without, I can't do it without it. And more importantly, though, is that I think it's not about day to day. I don't see differences in day to day so much. It's more like over time, you know, so I really try not to focus on the day. Like I might have an all fruit day or no fats in a day, although not so much these days. You know, I've been raw vegan for 4 years, and I really have done a lot more of the experimenting in previous years. Even last year or the year before, you know, year 2 or 3 for me, I was experimenting with like all fruit days and no fats. And then the next day I'd have fats again and do like day-to-day experiments. But now I'm looking at like longer arcs of consistency. And so I would say more like 4 to 6 month periods of time I would focus on a given thing. If I was going to go low fat, I wouldn't even look for changes for at least a couple months. But I'm not going to do that because I know what's worked for me, and I've done so much experimenting. You know, going raw vegan is like being a pioneer. You know, it's like really, it's taking risks and it's surrendering to the path that unfolds before you, and it's trusting and it's staying open and being you know, spontaneous and committed at the same time. Being spontaneous and committed is hard to do. You know, how to create from uncertainty. That's one of the keys of personal leadership. If we're going to be exceptionally successful in life, we've got to learn how to create from uncertainty with shifting sands beneath us, you know, like riding a wave. You know, it's going to move around, but we're here, you know, creating what we are committed to, creating that personal leadership and being committed to our vision here in the present moment, regardless of the shifting sands. There's a saying I love, which is hold the vision, not the circumstance. So whatever we want to create in life, it comes from our vision. First and foremost, I believe it 100%. Doesn't matter if we're talking raw food, doesn't matter if we're talking money, success, relationships, whatever it is, it comes from our vision. Our vision creates reality. And if we focus on the circumstance, like the details, the mechanisms, then we lose it. We lose the vision. So we have to stay in the vision if we want to be successful. That's why I'm a successful raw vegan. It's because I stay in the vision. I don't worry about the details of macros in this food and that food. I just don't. I just focus, I'm going to be raw vegan. I hold the vision. And the same, that's why I'm successful as an entrepreneur too, because I just hold the vision. Whatever I want to create, I'm not going to worry about how I get there. I'm just focused on, I'm getting there, you know?
It's interesting. You've struck a nice balance, Shane, because I noticed in the like raw vegan community, it seems to be like this spectrum of you go higher on the fruits, you become more spiritual, but you also lose most of your body mass. So you're leaning towards like very spiritual in the mind, but body very skinny and weak. But you still manage to have kept your spirituality, it seems. Like you're still a very high level functioning. You want the best for the world still, but you're able to root yourself in this physical body and still have the strength and energy. It's interesting. You've done well. Well done.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. That's a big compliment, actually. And I really let that in. I really accept that because it is my goal and it's hard to do. And yes, we get caught up in the dogma of raw food and fruitarianism specifically. And having high consciousness through fruit is great, but at the expense of the body is not a good equation for me. It just isn't something that I want to do. So yeah, I really cringe a lot at seeing raw vegans with low body mass. I just don't like that because we got to be capable leaders. And if we're going to be a capable leader, we have to have a robust physicality. We've got to anchor in the paradigm that we want through the body, like I was saying. So the body's a sacred divine vehicle. And I just think treating it well, treating it with respect, treating it how it needs to be treated. It's not easy to go into the gym and lift weights. Nobody wants to do that, but it gets the results. And so going after the results, I'm results based. Like as an entrepreneur, it's results. It doesn't matter how hard I work. I'm not interested in how hard I work. I'm interested in whether I'm getting the results or not. So that applies to raw food. I'm not interested in what it takes. I just don't care. I'm interested in the results. Can I get the results? Can I have a strong body and be 100% raw? What does that take? Because I'm after the results.
Yeah, and I think just getting clear on what you really want to, and that's for each of us to decide on an individual path, like what do we want to pursue, and that's why having this, getting away from relying on, experts and people in the medical community or whatever else to tell us how to be and how to consume and how to pursue health, but to actually go on that experiment yourself and say, okay, I'm going to eat this or consume this way for this amount of time and see what happens to my body, see what happens in this sort of way. And then, and then you come out like Shane has on the other end and say, okay, this is my balance. This is what I want to pursue. And this is how I want to move forward. But it's really taking that ownership and assuming responsibility for each of our paths in this experience instead of relying on someone else to choose for us. And that's really what we're all doing right now as we're kind of going through this awakening process, is assuming that responsibility and saying, you know what, I recognize that I am a sovereign. I recognize that I am a child of God, and therefore I have a responsibility to take ownership of this meat suit that I'm using for the time being, and to utilize it in the best way possible so that I can pursue this experience in the way that expands my creative abilities to the best of their abilities, and not just blindly walk through life, as a zombie and let others choose for me, because either choose or it will be chosen for you. And that's where we have to step in and make that choice.
Oh, I love that. It is so true. Yeah. I say it all the time when I coach people. I just share about myself because I can't expect people to reach the level that I've experienced. But I always say we've got to be radically self-referencing. Like there's no authority outside of us. There is no one that's going to tell us what the answer is. No one's going to show us the way. There is no guru. There is no expert. There is no leader outside of ourselves. We look at the politicians and the leaders and the doctors in our world. They have nothing. They got nothing. It's like we got to dig deep, and I always say the person with the biggest vision wins. If we are not enrolled in our own vision, we're going to get enrolled in somebody else's vision. That's what advertising on television is. That's what marketing is. I mean, people advertise gooey cheese pizza on the TV. Well, that's enrolling you in that vision, and we're enrolled in the pharmaceutical vision and the C and the V that's going on right now. We're enrolled in those visions by other people, and it has nothing to do with us. Because if we just go inside, we're going to, in our sovereignty, we have access to all information and all truth and all action plans and what we need to do next and all direction and all information that's inside of us. I believe that 100%. I live my life that way. And sometimes it feels radical, like the level of surrender and risk feels flippant, almost like dangerous. But that's what risk is. It's like living on the edge and being willing, 100% in with yourself. Not like, oh, I'll listen to myself 50% of the time, but oh, there's some experts out there that really have some information that I need to hear. They're going to have the answers for me. I better listen to the institutions at large in our world that give me that information. No, 100% in. It's how I live my life.
Yeah, and you touch on risk, and it really comes down to, at least for me, it's that trust in the divine, trusting that we're all connected to this one singular consciousness, God, creator, whatever you want to term for it. And that singular consciousness, all it wants to do is to expand and create. And so when we get out of our way, when we trust and we're willing to take those risks and say, hey, I surrender to this, then it allows God to move everything out of our way, all the difficulty, and to push us into this space of maximum abundance. Because that's all this one infinite consciousness wants to do, is to create and expand. And so if we let it, then we're always going to be led to that space of maximum potential. And so that's where we get out of that mind chatter and coming up with all these excuses of why I can't do something or why I can't take that leap of faith, because every time we do, we're always rewarded. The rewards are built into it, and it's just this constantly reciprocating, um, always expanding game that we get to play, and we just have to figure out the cheat codes for it, or the ways that, figure out the handbook, and the rest figures itself out.
Yeah,
That's
love that.
interesting, Justin. I like how you say that. Just that God wants you to create. You're supposed to evolve the message. If like I've been guilty of trying to find my health gurus for years and looking for their message, and what's the big man up there thinking when it's like, oh, you read that book? Like he already did the message. So that's his work. You're not evolving his plan. So I'm trying to like listen to my body now and not follow any 80-10-10 perfect protocol, or I did the juice fast. So, okay, like try to go inside, and I'm just experimenting with different foods, seeing how they like I know now how certain foods digest in my body. Like for some reason, a block of tofu glides through me like nothing, but 6 tablespoons of hemp seeds stop the train for a bit. So it's like, okay, why? I don't know, but we're learning stuff. It's good. But yeah, I think I do want to have my own protocol. I've always wanted to like develop something that everybody could follow, but it's not going to work like that. We're all very different, and some people thrive on just fruits, and not everybody wants to build muscle. They have no desire for that. And that's fine. Like nobody has to do anything. You follow your own path, and yeah, it's an interesting journey.
Yeah, and even if you want to consume flesh and consume animal products, like you can do that, but just know the parameters and how this creation is set up. You will experience the karmic repercussions of that. You will experience pain and suffering, and that's so it's all a choice. We get to choose what level of experience we want to have, whether this is constantly constantly reciprocating karmic lessons, constantly experiencing that sort of painful reminders of like, hey, you should probably get back onto this path because it's a little bit easier to follow that way. Or you can just say, you know what, screw that, and I just want to experience the painful reminders all the time. I just want to keep going around that wheel and whatever else. But it's all free will. Free will is absolute. We get to choose what level of experience we get out of this. It's just part of the game.
I had an interesting conversation. I went to this kind of anti-lockdown rally in Toronto. We have them every Saturday, so just a bunch of us get together. I've only been to 2 of them, but it's nice to talk with people who get it. They're not just wearing masks everywhere. It's just nice to be with some normal people. And I was talking to somebody, he recognized me from my channel, and he was asking me what diet am I on now, because I've changed so many times. And I was like, oh yeah, I just did a juice fast. I'm doing this. And I was like, how about you? And he's like, oh no, I don't do any of that. It's whatever goes for me. Like, and it was interesting just that he was on a different level. Like he wasn't caring about health so much. And he'd never had any serious health condition that would motivate him out of that. Like I get that. Like I'm motivated partly by pain. I don't want to experience that stomach pain, so I'm not going to fall back to these levels of processed foods and re-injure myself again. So like I know I'm eating healthy because I don't want to experience that, whereas he has no real reason right now to not avoid these delicious processed foods that are addictive, and he's a little overweight, but he's not in pain. So it's just fascinating. I almost feel lucky that I had this ulcerative colitis, and that led me
Yeah.
to this path. But we have to remember, not everybody is caring at all about health or anything. They just, oh, I want to eat. Like, but this is normal. Let's have hamburgers and fries, and who cares?
Yeah, well, maybe that's
Yeah.
where that they're not quite on that part of their journey. They're dealing with some other sort of lessons before they come to that realization. And so we're all presented just with the perfect opportunities at the perfect right timing to give us that catalyst to say, you know what, I want something different. I want to make a change, or I'm going to ignore it and continue feeling that loop. But it's all here for us. There's nothing, getting out of that victim mentality that things are happening to me. No, everything's happening for me. Everything's happening for the perfect opportunity so that I can rise above or not. I get to choose.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. Everything is an opportunity, and health problems are really just one of the ways the universe shows us that we're out of alignment. And it's trying to get us back into alignment, get us on our purpose. We have like a divine purpose. And when we're not listening, the universe is like, you're so dense, it's like, let's make life really get painful to just nudge you back onto the path. So everything is an opportunity to get us back onto path, no matter how much pain we have, no matter how much discomfort we're experiencing in life, traumas and, crazy breakdowns in our life. It's really just nudging us back onto our path. So it's beautiful. We have to look at the world as everything is conspiring on our behalf. That's personal leadership. If we're looking at like anything is happening to me, we're playing the victim, and it will never get us into alignment. We'll always be a victim. So I live my life that way for sure. So key.
Shall we do a what do we eat in a day for each of us, just on a rough estimate? How about you, Shane? What do you eat in a day? Typical day. I know it's probably different, but each day.
Yeah. I work out in the mornings, and I always prioritize my workouts. I love them. And so I will have a pre-workout smoothie. I try to load my smoothies with a good amount of calories and superfoods. I'll change up the superfoods depending, but I'll do like maca root and ashwagandha and green powders and spirulina and things like that in my smoothies. Always a banana and date base. So bananas and dates, always to create the base of the calories. And I always start my day with that. I usually don't have bananas and dates again. It's just my one intake of bananas and dates, and then superfoods. So usually 800 calories probably from my pre-workout smoothie. Post-workout, I'll usually have fruit, high glycemic fruits, get my blood and glycogen back, like restored after exercise. So I'll have, pineapple or watermelon, some sort of fruit. And then I might have in the afternoon, I might have like, in the last few days, I've been having chia pudding, like I said, big amounts of chia pudding and fruit. And then for dinner, I try to prioritize salads so I can get in those greens. And along with my salads, I'll do nuts and seeds. So I'll have pumpkin seeds or sunflower seeds, or maybe sprinkle some walnuts on there. But I always try to have some nuts and seeds in my salad, and a good amount of greens. And, I'll throw in like cucumbers and radishes and tomatoes and whatever else is in season and fresh and delicious. So that's what I'll do. If I don't want to make a salad and it's too much work, sometimes I'll just have fruit for dinner. Sometimes I'll just have dried fruit I might even have dried mangoes, or dried mangoes and cashews is one of my secret all-time favorite snacks. I've always loved dried mangoes and cashews before I was ever even raw vegan. It's just one of my like comfort things. So I love dried mangoes and cashews. It's like, and I get raw cashews from Divine Organics. I order them online. They are actually low heat processed. So I do prioritize getting raw cashews, and the highest quality mangoes I can get that I've ever found on planet Earth. International Harvest is the brand. They are the best dried mangoes. If I'm going to eat, foods like dried fruits, it's got to be the best. I want the best. So I prioritize that for myself. So I really don't make it a big deal. Sometimes I have fruit for dinner. Sometimes I have salad for dinner. Some days I'll eat mostly fruit and fat, and don't even have greens at all. Some days I'll be really focused on greens, but in general, I think I probably take in close to, my guess is 2,800 calories a day, right around there, with a good amount of fats usually, and proteins, maybe 80 grams of protein a day.
Nice.
And you don't seem to, like some say, don't mix fruit and fat together ever. That causes diabetes. But I feel like you get to a level where your digestion's fine and you can make these food combinations.
Oh yeah. So that's a good point, because it's taken me a long time to get to a point where I can mix fruits and fats with absolutely no digestive issues whatsoever. And it's because I've worked into my weakness. If I feel a weakness, I'll work into it. I'll develop that, like just developing a muscle. I'm going to develop the gut to handle fruits and fats. And I've been working on it for years. So I started by having like mangoes and seeds together. That was one of the very first things back when I first went raw vegan, to see if I could handle fruits and fats together. But now I'll do chia and fruit, and of course in smoothies. It's easier to start off by blending. If you blend, it's good because it homogenizes the fruits and the fats together. And the bottom line is that fruit sugar does not, it's so low glycemic, it doesn't spike our blood sugar at all. It creates no insulin response whatsoever. We will heal diabetes on eating fruit and fat together, raw fruits and fats, as opposed to the cooked fruits or cooked sugars and fats, which are going to create insulin resistance. So we can actually reverse diabetes with a raw vegan diet. Within 30 days, usually, I mean, I work with people with diabetes. They come into my group coaching program, which is Raw Vegan Heroes. We've currently got about 300 active members in there right now that are working on detoxing, juice fasting, transitioning to raw food. People will come in there with diabetes, all kinds of degenerative conditions, and use the power of the community for accountability in their healing journey. It's really powerful. And so I've seen people reverse diabetes in 30 days. Raw fats do not interfere with the body's insulin like these processed seed oils that we're eating in our diet. They just don't, because they're whole food. It's in the fiber. So our body knows how to handle it and process it. It doesn't release a bunch of lipids into the blood. It's just, it provides exceptional health. The balance of proteins, carbs, and fats is so powerful, and it's so where it's at. So working into our weaknesses to be able to eat fruits and fats together is a key, in my opinion, for success with raw food. And it's what I do and how I've been successful with raw food, is making sure that I can eat fruits and fats together.
It's interesting. Yeah. Because a lot of the long-term raw food is like Marcus Rothkranz and Lou Corona and Tavis Bradley, like they all seem to mix the fruits and fats, but in the beginning, it seems you got to get to a level to earn that. And that's that's exciting. That's that you can get to a level where cashews could be in my life with some dates and little cashew sandwiches. Oh, I don't mind that.
Kasey, you can do it. You can do it, man. You can do it. Takes time, takes dedication. I would say the number one key, if I was going to give, because I'm a coach, I coach people all the time. If I was going to give you any little coachy moment, I would say focus on the vision of what you really want and not the circumstance. If you focus on the circumstance, you'll lose the vision. So it's one or the other. You got to focus on one or the other. So focus on that vision above all else and enroll yourself in the vision so thoroughly that there's no concern with the details.
I love that.
What does Justin eat in a day?
Yeah, so let's see. My days vary a decent amount. I don't focus on, I'm not super consistent, but I do like to always start out my day with a fruit juice, just a simple mono fruit. I love watermelon juice, so I've been breaking my fast, and I try and do at least 12 hours of dry fasting. So I try and tack on, a few hours after I wake up before I actually consume any liquids or foods. But I'll usually break with the watermelon juice, and then about an hour or two later, I'll make a big smoothie. So I've got a big pineapple banana smoothie right here, which is delicious. So I usually do a fruit smoothie after that, and then I'll either, if I get hungry after that, I'll snack on some fruit. Just cut up some raw stuff. So eat some mangoes or whatever else, and then around like 4 or 5, I try and eat my heavier meal a little bit earlier, but I'll make a big sort of savory meal. And I've been getting pretty creative with those recently, and I've actually been incorporating a little bit of I love how John Kohler calls them heat processed foods. But I've been steaming some broccoli and eating a little bit more of that. But I'll usually make a big salad. So I've been on I'm in Mexico, so I've been on a Mexican kick recently. So I'll make like a big salsa. So this incredible simple salsa for anyone who wants to make one is just tomatoes, cilantro, lime, and if you're doing onions, do a little onion, and a little salt and pepper if you're doing those. But that's just such an incredible, easy salsa. And then if you take half of that and add some avocado to it, then you've got a guacamole. So you've got salsa and guacamole together. And so sometimes I'll make like a lettuce wrap with that, or just eat it with some red peppers and eat that. So that's always really delicious. And then, so yeah, I usually do a savory meal like that, and I'll get creative sometimes too. And Like I follow a lot of different recipes and things where I make different sauces, and so yeah, I'll kind of get creative with that. And then if I get hungry after that point, sometimes that'll be my last meal. But if I get hungry after that point, I try and stick with fruit before sleep. So some form of fruit, either mangoes or pineapple or whatever else. There's always good fruit around here in Mexico, but that's fairly typical. I mean, it varies. It varies, but yeah, that's a pretty typical day.
Sounds pretty yummy.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it varies a little bit. My days are pretty consistent. Like I'll wake up, I usually upload a video right in the morning and then do some mind power exercises. I just focus 10 minutes on everything I'm grateful for in the morning, and just helps re-cement me and just put me in a good mood. And usually I'll work out right after that, have a shower, and then make a green juice. So usually that's celery, lemon, ginger, and a dark leafy green of whatever my choosing is. Lately, I've been picking these wild lamb's quarters. I just found out that those are edible and I recognize them now. So that's kind of cool that you can either go to the store and pay $3 for a bunch of greens or just go pick them free on the lawn there. So obviously I can't do that for like 7 months of the year here, but I have my green juice, and then usually like maybe half an hour later, I'll have a fruit meal, just water rich fruit, maybe a cantaloupe, watermelon, sometimes mangoes. And after that, my new biggest addiction, these steamed Saba bananas. You just buy them in the freezer section. It's just bananas, but for some reason, like I hate the taste of Cavendish bananas. Like I cannot eat more than half of one. I'm just like, this is gross. How could you ever do a raw vegan diet and the bulk of your diet is bananas? Are you kidding me? I used to make the 11 banana smoothies, and I've tried mono mealing them. I'm just like, oh God, no. And for some reason, these steamed Saba bananas are so delicious and satisfying to me. I don't know, they're a little starchier. They're not raw, but I eat 2 packs of them. It's like 1,200 calories. That's what I ate right before the show. I feel like I'm able to get a huge chunk of calories, and they're delicious. And it's very easy because I take them out of the freezer the night before. And just if I'm going somewhere, like that's the difference between my friend came over a couple nights ago and we were going to film a music video. I just wrote a new song. And so we wanted to go out in nature and film this show. And the timing, I felt like a slave to my diet. If I was going to eat a cooked food, chickpea pasta, like I wanted to, there was no way I could make that work. So I just grabbed those bananas and then ate them. And we went out, and like it's so easy fruit. Like you don't have to think of anything. Just eat the fruit and go. You have energy, nothing to worry about. If I ate that pasta, I'd be dead. So I eat that. Then usually I have some sugar cane juice, which is also frozen, hopefully raw. It could be raw. I don't know. But it's just from sugar cane and kumquat juice. Fantastic. And then I have my dinner, which sometimes is just fruit, but usually I start with fruit. And then if I worked out hard, if it was a push day where I'm doing like one arm push-ups, or my pull day where I'm slowly trying to regain dignity and get my one arm pull-up back, I eat a little bit more protein rich. So maybe the block of tofu comes in with some steamed broccoli and stuff like that. Or I've been experimenting with chickpea pasta lately with veggies and lit some coconut kefir in there. And I'm got some dulse flakes sometimes. Like it's very simple. It's a very simple diet. I do have I'm taking Dr. Morse's GI broom lately, just checking what's that like. It's interesting. It's scraping things out. Good times there. And John Rose just recommended Chonka Piedra for the kidneys, the stone breaker. It's an herb that apparently like breaks up kidney stones. So I figured I'd order that. So I'm trying that. People say they can feel the stones. They're peeing them out. It's like, oh, that's breaking up something. So yeah, it's pretty simple, high carb. I can't do too much fats right now, but I will. I'll get there. It's a goal.
Nice. Good goal. That sounds great, Kasey. That's awesome. How long, I'm curious, how long have you been back on a plant-based diet? I know you went off plant-based for a little while and then have come back and
I went off pretty hard. I went
yeah.
on full carnivore for like 11 months. So it's been, I've been vegan now for 5.5 months. And that was basically 30 days, one meal a day, starch-based vegan. And that just was not working well at all. My digestion was possibly the worst it's ever been, just very constipated. And that's when I went into the 90-day juice fast. And now I've been 1.5 months prior or after breaking the fast. So yeah, and it's just an experiment. It was mostly raw for the first, I would say, 3 weeks. And I wasn't feeling good, like mostly fruits. And I just felt I needed something. So I tried some tofu and some hemp seeds, and I came back to life a bit with the fats. I need some fats.
Yeah.
So I don't know that fruitarian is my ultimate goal. Sometimes I have durian too. I love durian so much. It's pricey, but
Yeah, I think if plant-based can be the goal, then we're looking for, I mean, if we agree that plant-based is a good goal, then we're just looking for ways to make it sustainable long term. And I know so many of these vegan doctors promote the starch-based diet, the starch-based solution, but I don't think starch is the solution at all. So I think it leads people in the wrong direction. I don't eat starch. I don't like it. I mean, like I said, I'll have a sweet potato here and there just to make sure my mindset is my own and I'm in control. But really, starch is not the answer. And we just want those simple sugars anyway. Our body just breaks it down into simple sugars. So why not just eat the simple sugars to begin with and have a balanced diet of as raw as possible, high raw. And, that is going to lead us to a sustainable long-term version of the plant-based diet. I've been working on mastering the plant-based diet for 31 years total in my life. And it's an incredible journey. I mean, going back to animal products and all is just part of it, because we're all on this evolutionary journey. We're all on our own personal hero's journey, and it's a really recommitting. So I'm so proud of you, Kasey, for recommitting to the plant-based diet, man.
thank you. Yeah, it just felt right. It didn't feel right to be on that other side, but yeah, starch. We're looking at you, McDougall. Your starch solution. It's not a solution to anybody that I know. It's
No.
delicious. I wish it was the way, but it's just
Yeah.
I never had good energy or digestion, and some people are thriving on it. So bless you, bless you. Go make your potato hash in the morning, and fantastic. But I don't get it.
Well, I think it's like with anything, like the same reason why people experience healing going to a keto diet and things of that nature. Like if you're, depending on where you're coming from, if you're coming from a diet of processed foods and eating all sorts of fast foods and whatever else, and you go to a starch-based, simple foods where you're just eating simple starches, yeah, you are going to experience some healing because you're bringing that simplicity in, but it's only going to get you so far. So if you want to keep going, you've got to recognize, well, the starches are really heavy. They require a lot of digestive toll in order to process to get to those simple sugars. So what can I do to pursue further than that? But for some people that they just want to get to a plateau and maintain there. And again, that's all part of the experience, and where we get to choose, like, where do we want to maintain, or how do you want to stay there, or do you want to keep going? That's where we all get to decide.
Yeah, part of me wants that super health that maybe only a raw vegan diet with lots of fasting will bring. And then part of me kind of wants to be able to have the odd thing that's fun and maybe risk not having the super highest energy and being able to predict the future. Like maybe, okay, just back it off a little bit and let me have some fun things. But I can only imagine what we're capable of just from birth. If you haven't been to Bill Gates' house and got his little, that'd be nice.
Yeah, just to be patient with ourselves too, and recognize that once we're consciously intending on what we're doing, we're paying attention to our choices, then we get to really measure, okay, I'm going to choose this in this moment, and I'm going to do it, experience over this amount of time, and see what that's like. And then as soon as I want something different, I know what I can empower myself to do, to change, to elevate to whatever level. But It's just getting back into that driver's seat and saying, I'm taking responsibility for this ride. I'm not going to let anyone else do it for me. And then we get to
Yeah.
just choose what our level is and where we want to be at any given moment.
It's really important that we don't make anyone wrong, and we don't make ourselves wrong when we don't follow our own highest goal, because we don't want to be in the lower vibrations of shame, because the whole goal is to elevate our vibration and to be in a better place and be more self-loving. So that requires diligence in not allowing our mind and our ego to always knock us back down to shame. So we have to look for the tricks. The ego will play tricks on us and bring us back into guilt and shame by breaking our diet and breaking our fast and cheating on our diet. And none of that works. It's the wrong approach. We just have to recommit. That's the secret. That's what I've been doing for 31 years. It's just recommitting. And it works. It keeps us out of the lower vibrations. And that almost is more important than the food, really. I mean, because everything's top down, and the top starts with our mind, our thoughts, and our emotions. So really, if our emotions are at a high vibration, then our choices and our self-worth and everything's going to follow. So really, we got to be top down on it.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point too, because some people do struggle even getting onto a proper diet because there's some emotional blockages. And, I think as a general idea, the diet should be fairly foundational, but sometimes there's some traumas that have to actually be healed before someone can even entertain that idea of like, I do need to fix my diet, or I can, because some people literally tie their traumas to the ways that they consume. So that's why it's so important to be also looking at shadow work and things of that nature of like, what are we holding on to? Where is this baggage keeping me from going to where I want to go? Which is different for everyone, but it's part of this, personal hero's journey that we all have to embark on. And it just takes a conscious decision to say, you know what, I want something different. I want to be better. And no one can decide that but you. But as soon as you decide that, it unlocks this whole avenue of ways to pursue and things that come before us. So it's all exciting. It's all exciting when we truly let it.
Yeah.
That's why I think it's important not to judge people who are on their path, because they might be on one of those paths where they need like that emotional trauma healing first, and you're judging them for eating potatoes at night. It's like they're not ready for it. So I find that kind of on this vegan path and the juice fast, I was getting a little judgmental, like, that's cooked food, right? It's like we have to remember where everybody's at, and yeah, not everybody has your exact goal, and not everybody has your capable body. Maybe they want to be what you're doing and they can't. They've tried it, and yeah, we're all very different on different levels.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. Yeah, I just had a woman contact me a couple of days ago with chronic constipation her whole life. Her family had chronic constipation her whole life, and she joins my membership, Raw Vegan Heroes, and like within half a day of joining, she contacts me and says, "This isn't right for me. This isn't right for me." And I'm like, "What do you mean it's not right for you? This is just a support system. It's a container for you to explore this healing." And she said, "Well, I don't put myself out there. I don't share anything about myself." And I was like, "Okay, well, let's look at that. I'm a coach, so I got to go there with people." Her emotional blockage of being embarrassed, ashamed, fantasizing about healing, but not really being involved in her own healing, and like of the avoidance and the victimhood. These are all emotional patterns that won't even allow her to approach the healing process of healing her constipation, which would be doing a juice fast and bringing in more raw foods and working on that level. But again, family. She mentioned that her constipation is in her family, and she's afraid. She's hiding from life. She won't put herself out there. She doesn't want to be seen. She doesn't want to be heard, and so that's where most people are at. I think most people are afraid. They're hiding from life. They're in, victimhood in their life. And so that is definitely what holds most people back. And it's not even really about the diet at that point for most people. So we've got a lot of work to do on this planet, emotionally empowering people to where they feel ready to be in their own leadership in the first place, to be out of that scarcity mindset and to step into responsibility and honesty with themselves. How many people are really honest with themselves about where they're at? You know, we get so stuck in our own survival drift that we can't even see where our honesty is needed in our own life. And that was the case with this client of mine. She couldn't see even where her own honesty was needed in her life. So that's the job of a coach, is to help show people that perspective. And, you know, that's what we got to do, help each other. You know, we're really at a place and a crossroads on planet Earth right now where we really have to speak up and share this message. So I honor you guys for being here and doing this message, because it is probably the most important message for humanity right now. It's a pivotal message, you know, about choosing personal responsibility and not dividing down. You know, we're going to either choose love or fear. I mean, we're splitting. We see it. There's so much fear trying to control us with that fear. They want us in fear so bad. And all we got to do is just choose love, choose the higher vibration. You know, God's plan's divine. We don't have to have it all figured out. We just recommit to the love, the natural law, natural foods. It's going to lead us there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, inevitably. And we just have to make that decision. And it's really not that complicated either. The only reason it seems complicated is because we bought into the complicated lie. So we just have to let go of that illusion, let go of the fabrication, let go of what fear, you know, because Satan is the deceiver, and Satan is not an actual entity, but it's just the antithesis of God. So it's just the absence of God, which creates this fear that's always trying to suck us into this illusion that we are somehow separate, that we are somehow away from this divine protection, this singularity that we're moving back towards, or we can. And so all it just takes is to say, you know what, I recognize that all of that is a fabrication, and I'm choosing to realign back to where we need to go.
Yeah, and if we don't trust ourselves, we're not going to trust the world, and we're going to see the world as dangerous and as being, affecting us, attacking us, that there's a threat outside of us. So really the job then is to learn how to trust ourselves impeccably. And I think raw food really helps with that. Natural food, whole food really helps give us a sense of peace and, safety in the world, because it's the right diet for us. And then that shows us that the world is safe. That can heal traumas that we're born with, because what happens when we're abused and abandoned in life is that we lose our bond, our trust is broken with the world. And I think that's what the majority of humanity is dealing with. The number one trauma that humans are dealing with is a trust bond broken. We don't trust the world. We don't trust ourselves. We don't trust our own body. And we've lost that connection with the divine. The divine is that trust, really trusting impeccably that we are eternally safe and that we're eternally guided and that the universe is eternally working on our behalf. And so how do we restore that trust? Restoring the trust, of course, comes down to building that bond, the attachment of trust within ourselves. We can't do it any other way. When we trust ourselves, we're going to trust the world. If we don't trust ourselves, we're going to see that reflected in the world. The world is within us. It's not even out there, and so we're going to see everything reflected as to how we see ourselves. That's why self-worth was the key mechanism that led me to finally decide raw food, a raw vegan path, was the path to my highest empowerment, because it was a self-worth. When I truly felt worthy of thriving in the world, that included as a tool, not the goal. That was just an automatic given as a baseline platform that I had to eat 100% natural whole foods, undenatured foods, to get to that level of trust and alignment, which then allows everything else to work. Now I see the world, I don't really get so concerned about all the stuff going on in the world. I'm radically self-referencing, and that gives me an edge, I think, to be a good coach. In general, I'm not in the details, I'm in the vision. And it's just one of the keys. And I try to help people with that. That's one of the messages I try to share and bring to people. Build that trust back with yourself.
Well, yeah, and we can get so consumed with the out there world and thinking, oh, what can I do? We sometimes can get overwhelmed with like, oh, what can I do to fix it? There's so many problems going on, or yeah, just always focusing on out there, and instead really when we turn that focus inward and say, you know what, I'm gonna address. I recognize that there is an elite group of there's a cabal out there that wants to steer us into this path of darkness and to take us down this realm. But I also have my own internal cabal. I have my own internal parasites. I have my own internal things that I need to work on. And by addressing those issues first, it actually transmutes it into the out there world. And it's actually the only way to actually make a difference. So it just again takes back that responsibility and say, you know what, I take responsibility for what I have to do. And it has to start with me. It can't happen any other way.
And how about feeling enough? Like our effort is enough. I think that's one of the most desperate parts of being human, is that we feel like we're out of control, like we can't actually make a difference, like we are not enough. But when we choose a raw vegan diet, that's when our efforts are enough, because it becomes an internal healing process, rebuilding that trust with ourselves. We see the trust reflected in the world. We see the world as a benevolent, safe place to be. And that gives us what we're feeling afraid of. It rebuilds that. So that's one of the keys too.
Yeah, trust is everything in the diet world. You have to trust your diet. I'm finding that because when the doubt starts creeping in, you can self-sabotage yourself out of the perfect diet and just like, no, that's not going to work. It's amazing how much you persevered through so much pain, but you trusted it, and you were able to overcome that. And now you have the best health. You look 31 years old. Do people in the audience even know how old you are?
I've had some people ask, and
48. 48.
yeah, if you can believe it.
Yeah, I'm
That's
going to be
almost
49 soon. And I'm looking forward to my 50s. I'll tell you that. I'm going to be a really good example of, proper diet in my 50s. I'm really looking forward to it. I think I'm more excited about my 50s than ever before. And it's really an exciting feeling, an exciting time in my life to be an example like that. People consistently think that I'm late 20s, early 30s. And it's pretty mind-blowing. I do say when I went 100% raw, I dropped. I had to go through detox. I looked like crap for a while. I'll tell you, for about a year, I looked like crap. I looked like I was on death's door probably. But, it really took 10 years off. Raw food, it just, it lightened everything up. I don't know. The skin just started to glow and things tightened and just, and the good absorption and utilization of food now allows me to, I think, have a good body mass and a good body composition more easily, because with a really robust digestive system and utilizing all of the nutrition, I think I get more from the amino acids. I get more from the essential fatty acids. So I'm not having to scarf all of this protein to build muscle. It's my body's able to utilize the proteins in the foods I'm eating, which includes fruit. So fruit is a perfect building block for the body's mass. It's like fruit can lead to low mass. Yes, if you're not eating enough calories, if you have poor digestion, if you're trying to heal chronic constipation, then yeah, you're not going to be able to build body mass on fruit. But if you've cleansed your bowels for years and then you're eating a good balance, yes, fruit can lead to a good body composition. And that really makes a difference. That makes it, you look youthful, because we lose body mass as we age. So one of the ways we look older is by having, flat muscles. And if we just get in the gym a little bit, pump those muscles up, eat raw food, we're going to look 20 years younger.
So what would be for that year of recovery after where you said you look like shit? Well, what would be, I guess, some things that you might have done differently if you did it all over again to sort of, I mean, do you think there's anything you could have done to speed up that process, or
No, I
no?
couldn't
So
have
it's really,
sped up the process. Yeah, what I needed to do was help my body eliminate properly, because I had accumulated waste. I was experiencing skin inflammation and it was really, really bad. So I had to go, I had to detox with juice fasting and 80-10-10 to cleanse the body. And I did it as I was strict 80-10-10 for a year and a half. I couldn't have gone any faster. I mean, I just ate fruit every day for a year and a half, and I just waited for my dandruff to clear up. That's what I did. I waited for that darn dandruff to clear up, and it took a year and a half before it cleared up. And then I transitioned, a second transition to a more sustainable diet. So it took what it took. I couldn't have done it any sooner. And I coach people on that all the time, that it really takes as long as it takes. Natural healing is a slow process, and we can't look for a transition to happen in a couple of weeks or months. People say, I did a 30-day juice fast and I didn't see any results. Well, I'm like, no, the juice fast is just the beginning of helping the body eliminate so that your body can really heal. Now, eat raw food for a year, then you're going to start to see results. So it takes time, more time than we want it to take. It's not ideal. It's not comfortable. But boy, if we can commit to that vision of being a raw vegan and make that transition, we're going to get the fruits of our labor. We're going to get the results. We're going to drop the years off. We're going to look good. We're going to feel good. We're going to have energy and purpose and mission. And I think even beyond looking younger, which is great. Everybody wants to look good, and it really works for that. But even better, I think, is feeling a sense of belonging and purpose and feeling enough. Like, wow, if I am really on this internal healing journey, then I've done my part. I'm imprinting a new paradigm on planet Earth. I am healing the world by healing myself. I mean, there is a peace that comes from that is undescribable. And I think that's my favorite part of being raw vegan. And the second favorite part is looking younger.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say quickly, it's that trust of knowing that when we're going on this healing journey, everything that we're doing, if we stick to the raw plants, the things that grow out of the ground that are designed for us to eat, that our bodies are built to eat, ultimately everything that we experience getting to that point of optimum health is we have to trust that we have to go through that. And so whatever amount of time it takes and whatever amount of discomfort that I might feel in order to get there, still just knowing that, this is the food that I was designed to eat, whatever, just trusting that process and trusting that I'm going to get there no matter what I experience. And that allows you to not be keeping that narrow vision of, oh, I'm looking at this particular symptom, or maybe I can't gain weight, or maybe I can't, do something in this regard, but I have to get past these layers so that I can get back to that space, and just trusting that I'm doing everything right and that this is the way to be. So it's important to remember.
Yeah. Do you have any tips, Shane, for people who are going through that? Because that must have been a pretty difficult year and a half for you. You're on this detox path and you're cleansing and you're getting symptoms. And is there anything that, like, maybe you probably weren't even enjoying the fruit meals at times, like, more fruit? Like, how do you stick through that? Because like me, I'm in Canada here. It's summer now. Fruits are decent, but I don't always love this raw fruit. I don't always want to sit down to that. And sometimes I want something more savory. But you seem to like just say, no, I'm not going there, and you're going to stick to fruit. How did you do that?
Well, my body was giving me clues that it was very unhappy with the chronic skin inflammation. I was also getting tendonitis in my elbows and shoulders and seeing other signs of acidosis. So that's the canary in the coal mine. I mean, that's a path of degenerative disease. If I leave my body in that condition, where's that going to lead me? I'm only, I was 44 when I first went raw. So I was like, okay, I'm hitting midlife here. Like, I'm going to either age quickly and like feel like shit, or I'm going to take care of myself. So I was motivated by that because I didn't want to degenerate and leave the acidosis in there. So, doing what you don't want to do sometimes is worth it for the outcome. I am really results-based. I'm a mindset expert. I study it. I really work diligently to be good at mindset. I have my whole life. It's why I'm an entrepreneur and why I run successful businesses and why I'm a coach, because my mindset is good. So I always say, like, a professional shows up and does what they know they need to do, whether they feel like it or not. And an amateur does what they feel like doing. So if you want the professional results, you'd show up and you do it whether you feel like it or not, and you get the professional results. That goes with everything in life, all levels of success. Sometimes we have to sacrifice the short term for the long-term goal. So for me, it's not hard to see that I'm making a short-term sacrifice for a long-term gain. And in that way, I can compartmentalize the difficulty and say, this is worth it, and it's not that big of a deal. And I did have some savory, I would ferment fats. One of the ways I did 80-10-10 in my first year and a half was making nut yogurts and coconut yogurts, and all my fats were fermented, pretty much exclusively fermenting them. And I would make them savory and try to have savory dishes that way. I also was doing ferments like sauerkraut. So when I wanted something savory, I'd have fermented vegetables. And I would really only have fresh raw fruits and then fermented nuts and seeds and fermented vegetables. And that's what I did for the first year and a half. So I got the savory hit. I got the salty hit from the sauerkraut when I needed that. And again, short-term sacrifice for a long-term goal. I mean, sometimes we just got to do that when we know what we're after. I also, again, it ties back to my childhood because I wanted to help the world. When I was 17, I went vegan, not just because of health reason. I went vegan for the animals. I went vegan because I saw the bigger overarching picture of the arc of humanity. I saw it as a teenager. And so I thought, well, if I go raw vegan, if I start a coaching business, if I start a YouTube channel, I can reach people, I can make a difference. And so raw food was a vision bigger than myself. I knew that the raw food message would help hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people over years. I can make an impact here. And so I said the short-term sacrifice of a year and a half, 80-10-10 to heal myself and get myself transitioned, get my gut strong, that's a small sacrifice for the arc of what I'm really doing. If my work on planet Earth now has an impact, say 1,000 years from now, if I can be the trim tab that just changes the trajectory of this ship of humanity, that's worth it. That's what I came here to do. So it's like, I saw the scope of that. I saw the scope of like, well, a short-term sacrifice of transitioning and going through the detox. And yeah, there were days where I did not get out of bed. My wife at the time, she reminds me, there were days where I literally just stayed in bed and never spoke a word. She even reminded me that I couldn't even speak at times. I was so detoxy. I really detoxed heavy. So I went in the hole in service of the mission, the big mission, which is to help humanity, which I felt all the way back when I was a teenager. So at 44, tying all the way back to my youth, I felt this massive, like coming full circle that just compelled me. I was like, okay, I see it. I see my legacy. I see my work in the world, my purpose work as a man. This is going to be the work that I felt like I needed to have all these years, all through my 20s. Like, what am I going to do with my life? All through my 30s. Why am I not as effective and successful as I want to be? All through my early 40s, even saying, holy crap, I'm coming up on midlife. What am I going to do with my life? What's my purpose? What's my legacy? It all came clear with raw food. And then, so the sacrifice short term for that was a no-brainer.
Interesting. I'm curious a little bit more about fermented foods and kind of your thoughts on them. Do you still consume like sauerkraut and kimchi and fermented foods of that nature, or is that something you avoid now? And what are your thoughts in general on fermented foods?
Yeah, I don't avoid fermented foods, but I don't need them as I once did. Like Kasey was saying, the savory. Yeah, we need savory. We need salty and sweet and spicy and all of the flavors, really. We don't want to deprive ourselves of any of the flavors. So now I can make so many different variations as a well-balanced raw vegan. I mean, I make all kinds of stuff. I don't shy away from dehydrated foods. I don't shy away from fermented foods. I don't shy away from salt. I don't limit. I mean, I'm looking at my salt intake. I don't overindulge in salt by any means. I like simplistic. I don't add salt to things very much, but I just don't try to avoid anything. I look at a well-balanced diet as the goal and a variety of foods, kind of like John Kohler. I like John Kohler's approach, nutritarian, variety, nutrient density, and so I don't limit. So fermented foods have a place. I just bought some raw local pickles the other day. They're in my fridge. I haven't opened them yet. Looking forward to those. I love sauerkraut and kimchi. So yeah, it's important to allow ourselves to feel like our diet is normal as possible is my goal. Why not? Where I'm at, the way I eat now, it's really not a big difference between raw and cooked, or at least that's how it feels to me. It's just not that big of a stretch to stay raw or to have cooked. I still feel satiated. I still feel like I get everything I need. And so that's my goal. That's sustainable now because I allow myself to have most foods as long as it's raw.
Yeah, and I think that's important to, you know, uh, to honor like that sustainability and not try and go too extreme with any one direction or another, because if we do try and limit ourselves too much, you know, too much too early, then we can get burnt out very quickly. We can get into this idea that I have to be this certain way for X amount of time or for forever, and I can't ever have this. Then it sort of builds up that potential energy that has to be released at some point or another. So it's just allowing us to experience whatever we need to for that experience, um, without the sort of, like you said, the dogmatic approach of like it has to be this way and I have to stay this particular method. And we can get to that point where we
Yeah.
can be more consistent. And maybe I'll get to a point where, you know, mono fruit is the only thing that calls to me, but I'm not at that point right now. I still want to have my flavors. I still want to have my savory. I still want to have my you know, my mixtures and things of that nature. So I'm going to stay there as long as it feels good. And then if I want to change that experience, then I have the full capability to do so and the wherewithal and the knowledge to make that decision. But just honoring where we are in the journey and not judging ourselves, not bringing on that shame is so important.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And limiting limiting, getting dogmatic about it and limiting things is, I've never seen it work long term. It can work short term, and it's a great tool short term for detox or whatever, you know, just experiencing life and being on this path, this amazing hero's journey, and experimenting with our consciousness through food. It's wonderful. But long term, if we just eat fruit, we're gonna swing back, you know. So the dogma, the extremism of that can swing the other direction, and then we're finding ourselves somewhere where we don't want to be. You know, in my opinion, that would be like swinging back to animal products, which is something that I have declared I'm just not going to do. I've done it in my life. And so at this stage, you know, coming up on 50, I've swung back and forth, and I'm not interested in the swing anymore. I want to find what can carry me through my life, where I can really feel confident every day when I wake up that I love my lifestyle. I love my diet. I feel good. You know, it gives me everything I need, and I can serve others with my mission and my work. It's a big motivator for me. So the swing, you know, from extreme sides to the other doesn't serve my mission at this point. So again, I always bring it back to what is our mission? What is our vision and mission? So everybody should have a vision statement. My vision is a world in which blank. And my mission, I'm on a mission to blank. You know, and the other one is I'm committed to creating blank. You know, those are powerful statements to ask ourselves.
Yeah, it's funny that just a little bit of something savory can stop you from swinging all the way back. I find on these like fruit-based diets, like just a little bit of avocado and tomato and maybe the sauerkraut, you get that hit that you needed, the salty taste. It's like, okay, that was good. You need to balance the sweets and the savory. Maybe you're lacking a mineral or something. And if you don't allow yourself that, it's like, no, I'm 100% raw. This is the way we're eating in the Garden of Eden. This is how it is. And just try it, just relax a bit. And I find when you do relax, it's like something happens emotionally where you just let go of that fear for a bit and just relax, have a meal, and then you get back at it and you're still on a healthy diet.
Yeah, so
relax.
true, Kasey. Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. And one of the secrets to my success over 4 years raw is that I let myself have those savory dishes, avocado, tomato on a dehydrated cracker with even like condiments that aren't raw. You know, here in Austin, Texas, the the salsas and the condiments are off the charts. There are some good hot sauces here. And so I will let myself have these hot sauces with, tomato and some fermented cheese, and I'll make these crackers with, and that satisfies me. I'll sit there and I'll gorge, I'll eat, I'll sit down and eat 1,000 calories of that, for dinner or whatnot. And yet part of it's maybe not raw, like the condiments, and it's got salt in it and all this stuff, but I am not worried about that. That's a small detail because I'm enjoying my food. It's pleasurable. 80%, 90% of what I'm eating is raw. And then that condiment can just really keep me on track. And it gives me that edge to just stay satiated, stay happy. And so the dogma of 100% does not serve that vision, does not serve that purpose. So I don't get caught up in the dogma of 100% at all. But I just make those choices that incrementally lead me to 80, 90, 99% raw in my day, because it's just a better choice. But we've got to enjoy what we're doing or we're going to swing.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a new rule that if I didn't cook it, it's raw. You're raw. You didn't cook it. You didn't cook that and ketchup. It's fine. Did you cook it? No, you didn't. Did you? So you're good. My bananas there. Bananas can be raw, and mine were once raw, and I eat them. It's good. I'm a raw foodist.
Yeah, we've got to find what works for us. And it just really doesn't matter. It's better to be 60, 70% raw than not. I mean, we got to just work toward what works for us, and there is no perfectionism. This is about recommitting to the journey, recommitting to our hero's journey of personal development and self-exploration. That's all it is. The better we are at recommitting to our own personal hero's journey, the more I think it's going to lead us to diet and impeccable choices in our diet, because it is the foundation of our health and our well-being. So we're going to naturally be led to raw food. It just naturally is going to lead us there over time.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a natural progression. We just got to get out of our way, and we'll flow back to that ease, to where it's simple. The truth is always simple.
Absolutely. Yeah. Removing the blocks. I think that's all it is. It's like removing blocks. We're already divine. And it's just, we got to remove the stuff that just hurts us, keeps us separated, keeps us in our ego, keeps us looking, good and in victim mode. Just get the blocks out of the way, and we're going to just go right there. So it can be a lifetime. It can take us a lifetime to get to the simple truth of just raw, undenatured food.
It takes several lifetimes. You could take as many lifetimes as we need. It's
multiple lifetimes. I had this amazing astrologer, very talented. His name is Jade Luna. I'll drop his name because he's a very talented, intuitive guy. He does Asterian astrology, which is an Eastern astrology. And I had a reading with him. Excellent guy. He said that he didn't know a single thing about me. And he was telling me from my chart that I had a past life as some sort of a naturopathic doctor of some sort in the health field. And the colleagues, he said that I had some epiphany around something that would change humanity with some health, something related to health. And he said that all my colleagues around me silenced me, and that I was shut down and silenced with this information. I had this very important information I wanted to get to the world. And he said, in this lifetime, my karmic destiny is that my message of whatever this health thing is gets to be heard by the world, and that I get to move through that limitation. I won't be silenced in this lifetime. And then after he told me that, he asked me, do you mind me asking what you do for a living? And I said, well, I'm a raw vegan coach and a health coach. And he was like, oh my God, he was floored by the fact that he could see that in my chart. So I'm like, I had a past life as some sort of a raw vegan doctor of some sort. That's what I got from that. And my colleagues were silencing me and shutting me down. And now I get to talk about it because we got technology like YouTube and stuff.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. We're all just getting a little closer to our mission. What are we here to do? And that's about peeling these layers away. Is the more we peel away, the more it becomes clear, what is my mission? What am I here to do? And that's why the food is so vital, because when you gain that clarity, it becomes a lot easier to see. And we're led to these spaces where we can have conversations like these, or anyone listening in, you're listening to this conversation to get activated in some other way to further pursue you down that path of what is it you're here to do. which is really exciting.
It's very exciting. Yeah. And we've got karmic destinies that are unfolding, and we've got past lives that are intertwining and interplaying and everything. And we've got traumas and family lineages that we're dealing with. And then we've got societal expectations and cultural expectations on us that we're working with so many outside influences. That's why I think we've got to like turn it all off, go inward, and really become radically self-referencing. It's like the number one thing, radically self-referencing.
Absolutely. I love that. Well, we're coming on about 2 hours here. Shane, I want to give you a chance to plug any of your programs or your group or site or anything like that. So if you want to cover that and then give any closing comments, that would be wonderful.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, thank you so much for spending the time with me and inviting me on. I really appreciate it. Love talking with you guys. My Raw Vegan Heroes group is probably the best detox and juice fasting support that exists. I don't know if there's anything is better because it's like a monthly membership. It's really cheap. You can come in and get support from so many other people from around the world who are doing juice fasting and detoxing. It's an incredible community. It feels like a movement. Now, some of the people in the group are like lifers. They have identified with Raw Vegan Heroes and they've taken on the mission and they are going to be in there for life. And then some people come in, try it for a month and leave. But the cool thing is it's like this soul tribe feeling, so I would suggest, if you're a raw vegan, if you're interested in it, if you need to do a juice fast or detox, try Raw Vegan Heroes and see. It's a very low expense to try it. It's $14.99 a month. You can sign up yearly and save some money. There's a discount if you sign up for the year. But I have my bowel detoxification guide. Everything I know about juice fasting, rebuilding the gut after a juice fast, I've compiled into a PDF document that's free. I give it away to people because that's how I can serve people and help people. I've had like 4,000 people download this document from my website in the last like 3 months. It's very popular. So I'd highly recommend doing that. The link is in the show notes for that.
Yes.
It's called How to Do a Juice Fast, Why You Need to Do One, a guide on bowel detoxification. It's a free PDF. So download that and look at what it takes to start the process of detoxification. Because as we detox cellularly, we are going to raise our frequency and be naturally led to higher vibrational foods. Detoxing is the key. Kasey rocked it with his 90-day juice fast. It's awesome to juice fast. And so if you follow my protocol that I've outlined after working with hundreds of people, it just makes it simple. You don't have to question things. And then if you join Raw Vegan Heroes during your juice fast support time, when you're doing the fast, you get all your questions answered. You don't have to feel alone. Anytime you're up against the wall, you can talk with 300 other people that are currently in the group detoxing. And that way, because juice fasting is a time commitment, it is a expense. There's a money commitment because you're buying produce and a juicer and all this stuff. The least you can do is give yourself that accountability and support to make sure you get the most out of your fast, to make sure you get the mucoid plaque out, to make sure you're getting the biofilms out so that when you're done, you're confident now moving forward that you can rebuild the gut for optimal digestion and utilization, getting to the place like where I'm at now, where you can look good, feel good, be strong, have a balanced diet, and have it be easy. So I think juice fasting is the first step. That's why I have my bowel detox guide. That's why I have my Raw Vegan Heroes group. So this is my service work in the world. This is my legacy work. I stepped into it at 44 years old. I'm 48 now, and I feel like I finally got the calling. It's a great blessing to be on purpose and on mission in my life. This is how I want to serve the world. This is how I want to show up and help heal and be a message and a light of hope that we don't have to be controlled by the medical narrative. We don't have to be controlled by anything. That we have the power within us. It's through detox. It's through natural food. So it's a big journey to get past our own fears. But once we make some effort and we have some breakthroughs, it gets easier. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, joyful journey. Detoxification really is a beautiful, beautiful, natural journey. It doesn't have to be hard. It's just so beautiful. I'm so grateful for every detox symptom I've ever felt on my raw vegan journey, because it has gotten all that out. When we get the toxins out, Every detox symptom is a lightening of our load. And then we become more connected and feel better. So it's hard and beautiful at the same time. And isn't that the metaphor of life? You know, it's like sometimes we got to do the hard temporarily to get to the breakthrough. So that's what I support people with.
Beautiful. Thanks, brother. Appreciate all you do and appreciate you, recognizing that path of service and stepping onto it. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thanks for being on with me, guys. Justin and Kasey, thank you so much. And everybody who's watching this today or in the future, love you guys.
Yeah, we love y'all. Kasey, did you have any closing comments you want to give?
Oh, just thank you, Justin, for being the ever gracious host you are. And I love talking with you, and I love how you put these together. And thanks, Shane, for coming on. I got a lot out of this. So I'm going to probably rewatch it again because I know I already forgot there was two like epiphany moments there where I was like, oh, that's so I already forget them. So it's good times. I'm that's like so a goldfish. Awesome. It's just in and out. But yeah, just keep on doing your health journey and just don't judge yourself. Like I've eaten healthier before. I'm on a different level now, but it's more fun. So I'm having a little fun right now. And then I get back on the path and yeah, it's just like cleansing. Just go back to that. Know your cleansing is the way, but have a little fun here and there and don't beat yourself up and you'll get there eventually. And it does get easier. Like Shane says, like in the beginning, it's detox symptoms and you might be super itchy and fatigued all the time. And eventually you're going to get to a place where you're energized most of the time. And now you're a normal functioning human being and you can live life and you enjoy doing this instead of it feeling like a chore where you're like, oh, I got to eat healthy. I got to juice. Oh, this sucks. Like now I love my green juice. I can't wait to eat that. And most of my meals are just fantastic. So it gets better. Just stick to it. You'll get there.
Nice.
Awesome
Love
message.
Love it. Yeah, well, brothers, I really am honored to share this space with you. I'm so honored to share this time and this show with you guys. It's been such a beautiful conversation, and we talk about healing the divine masculine. This is how we do it. This is how we step into that role and say, you know what, enough is enough, and it's time to take a little bit of ownership and to empower ourselves, and that's what we're here to do. And yeah, as Kasey said, you can rewatch these episodes. That's why it's beautiful to have them stored. We've got all 7 episodes still up on the channel for now. And they're always great reference points. And it's great bringing on different people with different perspectives, because then we can really take a balanced approach to say, this works for this person, this works for that person. But ultimately, I have to decide what works for me. I have to decide what works best for me and to step into that and truly empower myself to do that. So just keep that in mind as we go through this journey, but we're going to keep pursuing. We're going to stay on this quest for true health, and appreciate y'all for being here. And I love you both, and I love everyone here. So thank you. And we'll talk to you all next time.